Muy buenos días a todos. Vamos a empezar con nuestro masterclass. So welcome again, everybody. And let us begin. Without any further ado, let us begin. So, masterclass, QLL masterclass. What am I doing? 1 second. Right. So let me just share this full screen. Nice. So welcome everybody and welcome to CSEC Spanish Masterclass. And today we will be doing paper 2. We will be working on paper 2, which tends to be one of the more difficult areas. It carries the most amount of weight in marks, etc. And my idea is that as we do the most difficult one, you have more time to go over the recordings and what we learn in class today and in preparation, etc. Right? So you're seeing some logos in the corner there. We will come to what those logos are and what they mean very shortly. Let us begin though. So what are we trying to achieve? I think I saw somebody by the name of Renice join a little while ago. Welcome, Renice. So first and foremost, I will welcome you all, of course, to Masterclass 2022. We're going to review the exam sections. We're going to review the necessary exam skills. We're going to review the marking scheme and criteria. And of course, we're going to look at some past exam papers. I intend that everything should be wrapped up within an hour and a half or so. Even though we work hard for 2 hours, let's make it nice and concise. And we will have some time for questions and comments, answers, etc. at the end of it all, right? So what I will ask from you all, everybody, it is not necessary to copy down the notes that you're seeing on the screen. It is not necessary. I will encourage you to take your own notes, etc., based on what you see on the screen, based on what I see, etc. But it's not necessary to copy down the notes that you're seeing on the PowerPoint. Reason being, we will be setting up something called a Padlet, and everybody will be added to that. There you will have access to the recording of the class. You will have access to the PowerPoint from class. You will have access to additional notes and resources, etc., vocabulary pertinent to the things, idioms, expressions, that sort of stuff, right? So it's a one-stop shop for resources for you to do your best in your exams, right? So there's no need, to reiterate, there's no need for you to be copying over everything that you see on the screen, but you could take your own notes. That's welcome, of course, right? And I would also ask that any questions, etc., that you have, just make a note of it, right? This in the top corner of your page or something so that you can bring it after, right? If it's something urgent, by all means, you could unmute your mic and just ask for excuse, and I would stop in between and address your concern or question, right? But we'd also have time at the end. So, masterclass. So some of us may be hearing about masterclass for the first time, but the truth is that this is the third installment of masterclass, right? Masterclass was birthed quintessential language learning. We are a language learning business academy institute, and we offer classes in Spanish. Right now, Spanish, and we will be fully on board with French and English soon, both English at CXE level and English for speakers of Spanish, etc. But this program, we started in 2017, quintessential language learning, but Masterclass itself was started in January 2020, and it has always been a collaboration between NALIS and QLL. That NALIS sign may look familiar to some of us, National Libraries and Information System. Basically, if you have a public library where you live, that is NALIS, right? That is the National Library. The public library, they fall under NALIS, the National Libraries and Information Systems. And this has been a collaboration between them and Quintessential, between us and them since then, since 2020, January, right? And the goal has always been simple. This has been one of my ways of giving back to community. I understand that some persons may not be able to get extra lessons, or they may have to prioritize when it comes into extra lessons, to getting extra lessons, etc. Not everybody is fortunate to be in a socio-economic place where they could get lessons for all the subjects, etc. And many times, to be honest, pardon me, that's Jeremy speaking there. Oh, yeah, don't forget to mute your mics, of course, unless you want to make a contribution. So as I was saying, this was before the pandemic, but I always understood that not everybody is in a position to have the money, the funds, etc., for extra classes. And many times, Spanish is one of those things that fall by the wayside with regard to getting the attention for extra classes. But many times people need it. You may focus on the maths, the English, the compulsory subjects, etc. So this was always my way of giving back to students and giving them a free class that, as the name implies, a master class. You get all the information, you get all the help that you need to be able to walk into your exams prepared and also confident to be able to sit your exam, yeah? And it has indeed been a blessing. As I said, it started off in January, it was extended, it moved into crash courses. And I would always boast and say that I have met amazing persons like yourself through this experience. This has been the most rewarding aspect of my teaching career to date. And it's through this that I would have met persons like Angeli, right? So I remember with Angeli and they, we started with, I know it was less than 100, but it was about 80 something persons registered, but on average, active participants, it would have come down to about 30 persons, right? From 80 persons signing up, etc. initially. Last year was the same kind of thing, but we started off with about 50 something persons. And this year, so far, up to the last time I checked yesterday, it was 122 students that signed up. And we hope to push that number to even more, to about 300 persons. We don't have 100 and something persons on right now, but I hope that more persons join and that you all are also actively joining. I hope that it brings value for you so that you can see yourself coming back week after week. Yeah. I just want to stick in one other thing. Miss Sherilyn Batiste, that's a representative from NALIS, and she will be coming in a little later just to give some greetings from NALIS, etc. Miss Batiste, if it is here already, feel free to interject. I don't think she is, but yeah, feel free to interject. Excuse. Nice. So we'll be looking, as I said, at the CSEC Spanish Paper 2 today. And as you see here, the Paper 2 comprise is 42% of your total mark towards your Spanish, towards your CSEC Spanish exams, right? And as we know, there are 3 papers or 3 exams that you'll be writing. There's Paper 1, which is the listening exam / reading comprehension. We have the Paper 2, which is the one we're preparing today. And this is called reading and writing. And you have the Paper 3, which is the oral exam, right? And as we see here, this carries the bulk of the weight. So it needs a lot of special attention, yeah? And the different components are, we have the situation responses, we have letter writing, we have contextual dialogue, and we have reading comprehension. So we'll go through each one of these. In the past, there were choices, you had options with the Spanish exam. Now everything in this paper too is compulsory, right? Each section, each one, situation responses, letter, contextual reading, comprehension, etc. And you will see some notes here at the bottom, but we'll go more in depth with those notes as we move along, right? One other thing, guys, if it is I'm moving quickly, if it is somebody wants me to repeat something, they want me to slow down, etc., by all means, just put on your mic, excuse her, and your request, you make your request known, right? So we will begin with the directed situations, right? Directed situations. The exam paper 2 is 42 marks out of all the exam papers, papers 1, 2, and 3. But this paper is out of 100, it's 42%, sorry, but the paper itself comprises 100 marks in total. And the directed situations comprises for almost a third of that, 33 marks, right? So of course, you need to obey the rubric. You need to read each situation carefully. I would suggest that you never leave a blank space, and as always, recheck your answers to minimize any errors. And this is a sample or an example of what the instructions would look like. Write in Spanish the information required by each of these situations given below. Do not use more than one sentence for each situation, and a complete sentence may not always be required. Do not translate the situations given. So just to give you an example of the directed situations, I know we should have met these by now, and we will go into past exam papers and examples, etc. But a situation may read something like this. Your mother is going to work. Your mother is leaving the house in a rush as she is late for work. She leaves some instructions on the fridge of some things that she would like you to do in her absence. What does the note say? Now, certain things you would look for, the fact that it says instructions, as a hint, etc. But with regard to do not use more than one sentence, some persons may want to say, do this, full stop, do that, and next sentence, full stop, do the other, and next sentence, full stop. The instructions, the rubric is saying you're not supposed to do that. We need to pay attention to that. That is not just a suggestion, that is a command that they are giving to us. We need to follow it. It is not open to interpretation. It is not open to our subjective understanding. We need to obey the rubric. You will definitely be penalized, lose marks, etc., if you do not follow that rubric. So you're not supposed to write more than one sentence. A complete sentence may not always be required. And most importantly, do not translate. So a translation may be like, the situation I give there, somebody may incorrectly respond, my mother said to do X, Y, Z. That's a translation of the situation. Instead, you are pretending that you are your mother and you are just writing down on the exam paper the words that would have been on her notes. Wash the dishes, clean the yard, and whatever. 3 things and their instructions. And as we will see, once we hear the word instructions, we know, hey, this is a command that needs to be given, right? And we have some examples of language functions. Now, language functions, as we will see, each situation that you are given is actually asking you to include some sort of language function. Now, you may ask, what is a language function? And if we go back to the example that I gave, your mother is leaving the house because she is late for work and she gives you certain instructions, or she gives you 2 instructions of things to do. She writes these instructions on a note. What does the note say? The language function basically hints or says to us something is trying to be communicated in this situation. So the language function tells us what is trying to be communicated in this specific situation. So in the example I gave, what was trying to be communicated was a command or an instruction. And in every single situation, you will find a keyword that CXC is actually giving you a hint to tell you, I want you to use some form of the language that is instructing. Or I want you to use some form of the language of Spanish that is a way of apologizing. I want you to use some form of the language in Spanish that is a way of giving a recommendation. And there are set words or phrases that we use to fulfill these language functions, such as apologizing, expressing a condolence, recommending something, warning somebody, wishing somebody a speedy recovery. All these are examples of language functions. So when we're looking at each situation, as well as paying attention to what the question is saying, we need to always try and figure out what is the language function being asked for in this specific situation. Are they requiring me to apologize in Spanish? Are they requiring me to express a condolence in Spanish? Are they requiring me to give a recommendation in Spanish? Is CXC requiring me to wish somebody a speedy recovery, to warn, to congratulate, etc., etc., etc.? So we need to look out for these key things whenever it is we approaching the situation, the directed situations in the exams, right? And of course, we have some examples of phrases here. This is just a brief thing. As I mentioned to you all, it will be sent to you a more expansive list of language functions and the Spanish words and phrases that we could use to fulfill those language functions. Yeah? To apologize, you can say lo siento or cierto por, followed by whatever the thing it is you're sorry about. To express condolences, mi más profundo pésame, mi más profundo sentimiento. To recommend something to somebody, recomiendo que, followed by the subjunctive. Sugiero que, followed by the subjunctive, etc. To warn somebody, no debes, cuidado, etc. Wishing somebody a speedy recovery, que te mejores pronto, etc., etc., right? How are we going so far? Let me get some feedback. Everybody's following. Nice. I'm seeing a thumbs up by Anushka, Tracy. Anybody meeting any new information? You're getting any information that you may not have heard of or learned before? Feel free as well to raise your hand. Or we heard all of this before? Malia, is that a thumbs up to new information or a thumbs up to we good and following? You mind unmuting for a sec?
Sir, it's Malini.
Say that again?
It's Malini.
Oh, no. Yes, Malini, I'm seeing you, but Malia York.
Yeah, I see both, sir.
Say that again?
Both, sir.
Both. Okay, nice. Malini, all is well?
Yes.
Okay, nice. So we continuing, guys. Right? So first section in the paper 2 is the directed situations. And just to recap, you need to pay attention to the rubric, the instructions, reading carefully, looking over, and always ask yourself, what is the language function in this specific situation, right? Next, letter writing. Of course, follow the rubric. And once again, sorry, before I even say that, directed situations out of 30 marks, letter writing out of 30 marks as well. Right? So these are the two weightiest areas of the paper 2 exam. Right? So as always, or once again, follow the rubric with your letter to the T. Excuse me. Stick to your word count. You would see 130 to 170 words. Sorry, 130 to 150 words is what CXC says on the paper. However, I will say that for the persons that may be fearful of meeting the word count, two things I have to say for the persons that find themselves usually not meeting the word count, two things I have to say. One, there's discretion in the word count. Although on CXCs, on the CSEC, on the exam paper, you'll see 130 to 150 words, you will not be penalized for writing between 120, which is 10 words less than the amount, or 170, which is 20 words more. Now I understand. I understand the question that will arise in somebody's mind is, but my teacher never said that to me before. They said I need to write between 130 to 150. Where is this guy coming out with this information that seems to be bending the rules? How dare he? So I will say that the information I'm giving you is not my opinion. It is reliable. I would have received it from what you call a subject report. So if you go on cxe.org, you download the CSEC Spanish syllabus, well, it's actually the CSEC Modern Languages syllabus, which is Spanish, French, and Portuguese. There's something called subject reports. So each year when you all do the exam, there's a subject report. There's an overall exam report on how persons did, but there's also a subject report. And in this subject report, CXC says, this is how persons performed in the CSEC exams of this year, whether January, May, June, etc. And time and again, I've seen in these where they say, listen, we allow for between 120 to 170 words. As I said, of course, it's not something that is publicized, but it is something that is public. So you can download the syllabus for yourself. You can go and take a read of the subject reports, and you will see this information there that they allow between 120 to 170 words, which is 10 words less than the word limit given on the exam paper and 20 words more, right? So don't stress yourself over that too much. So meeting the word counts. That is one thing to keep in mind. The second thing to keep in mind is the fact that once you can organize your letter correctly, and once you learn how to elaborate on your points, which I will admit is a skill, and like all skills, it takes practice. You have to be practicing a lot of letter writing in order to learn how to flesh out that point. You know, they would give you 4 points to write on, right? It's a lot of practice to be able to flesh it out properly, not saying too much, not saying too little bit, but at the same time, saying enough that meets the word count, right? And you would see in the chat, Angeli posted a link to download the syllabus where you can get and verify the information that I was saying just now. Don't take my word for it, right? So what I like to tell students as well, moving on from the word count and meeting the word count, what I like to say to students is use universal idioms and use complex language structures. Good morning. I believe that's Ariana that joined us. Welcome. And everybody else that joined us after I started. VL, Bowen, Savannah, Ray, everybody else, Jared. I don't think I called these names before, right? So welcome. So yes, as I was saying, use universal idioms and complex language structures. What does that mean? Moving to the next point, you need to revise key vocabulary. But in revising key vocabulary, there's nobody here, I think, including myself, that will remember all the vocabulary words that they learned of. So many times the vocabulary learning is really a dreadful thing for students. The words can't seem to stick. I'm sure persons here have that complaint, yeah? The words just don't seem to stick. One of the key things I like to advise students is that you won't be able to remember every single vocabulary word under the sun. Of course, you will need to know key things, specific or key vocabulary. Like if it is you need to write a letter on a natural disaster, you need to write a letter on an accident, a vehicle accident. You need to write a letter on a school trip. You need to write a letter on a travel experience. These are some of the common and popular topics. You would need to know the key vocabulary on those, but you could also learn of universal idioms and language structures. That is the things that you could use no matter the topic. Right? We will see some examples of those next. And of course, never use any translation help. Under no, absolutely no circumstances. Once it is, you're using an online dictionary or you're using an app and you could enter more than one words. Once it allows you to enter more than one word, you are translating. And I'm saying to you all, never, ever, ever, under no circumstances, use these. There's one in particular that's a dictionary, SpanishDict.com, but it also has translation capabilities. I just sent the link in the chat. What I like to use personally, or what I came up using as a student, more so from university come up, is one called wordreference.com. Now, Spanish Dict is good, but the problem is that many times students cannot resist the urge. They say, oh gosh, it's just one phrase. You ask them, did you translate in your letter? No, sir. So how come it is your note? Oh gosh, sir, it was just one phrase. It was just that one thing. And you see, for the persons that have been in my class in the past, are currently in my class, they will know that if it was what I am saying now come like a road march. You know, a road march is that song that play the most time in the carnival. The amount of time, I think every single class that I teach, I just have to make this comment. Never, ever translate. And the reason why I say this is because it will not stick. You will be able to produce an answer, to produce something in the right now, but you will never find yourself learning. You may fool yourself and say, I will write down the word after so I can learn it off. The vast majority of the time, there's a lie that you're lying to yourself. And you never write it down. Also, even if you write it down, that phrase, most times it doesn't stick because there are certain mechanics of it taking place in the language. And by just using a translation site or app or whatever, you are not aware of the mechanics that are taking place in that. So it's interesting to me because I always say I would have come from an age before all of this technological advancement, and we had to open a dictionary. And for example, if you're looking for the word for, you look for in the English to Spanish side, and you might have to go through 17 different definitions of the word for. So you have to go and read through all of them to find out which one fits the context within which you're using. Learning a language is a tedious process. It takes discipline, it takes grit. You have to keep pushing. You have to fail 100 times before you get right that one time. And this is part of the process. But when you go through that process, you learn so much. I see somebody's comment, Spanish translators use subjunctive. That's how you know. It's not only that. Let me give you an example, if you don't mind me calling your name, right? Vinayak. There are certain things that students will need to know at CXC level. And there are certain things that they will not meet at CXC level. And when you put it into certain things with translation capabilities, etc., how to put it, by? It gives you responses, it gives you Spanish at a level that is beyond the student's level, even if it is the best thing in the Caribbean. Many times, these things give you things that are past the student's level. And that is one way we know. Another way we know, as a teacher, you will have an idea of your student's competency. And when it is all of a sudden you're getting things that are leaps and bounds beyond that competency, natural mistakes supposed to take place when in the learning of the language. You're supposed to make errors with por and para 1,000,000 times before you get right. But when you see them getting it right consistently, but yesterday or the day before they were getting it wrong, those are telltale signs to teachers. So they know. Not to mention people that like to copy and paste, and you're seeing the little shading behind the words, behind the letters. That is an indication that was copy and pasted from some site, etc. Right? So you're only fooling yourself and no learning takes place. None at all. So don't translate under any circumstance. And of course, welcome Perez, by the way, practice, 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 practice. The only way that you improve is by practicing in letter writing and writing, no matter the subject, It could be writing in English, it could be writing in Spanish. Writing is an iterative task. And that simply means is that the only way we get better by it is by doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I just always boast about this one student I had in the past. He went on to win a scholarship and stuff at Form 6 level. And the amount of times I made that boy write over essays for me. You would write an essay and I correct it. And I put in my changes and I say, write over with my corrections. When you write it over with my corrections, you make another error somewhere else. Or my eyes may see another error somewhere else. Go back and do it. Go back and do it. Until you get the perfect essay. And then we move on to a different topic. And sometimes this is what you need to go through. Fortunately or unfortunately, but this is the process. This is what it takes to become proficient in it. And it's easy to say we don't have enough time, we don't have this, we don't have that, and not making any progress. Spending an hour and I can't even write a paragraph. This is part of the process. You have to go through that first before you can write the letter. For the persons that may still be in that space where they can't write more than a paragraph, that is exactly what you have to go through before you could move from 1 to 2 paragraphs to learning how to develop your points to writing your whole letter. And that only comes with ridiculous amounts of practice, right? If anybody into martial arts and you know about katas and stuff, to move from one belt to the next belt, you have to go through that. You have to be practicing your kata over and over and over at home to be able to go to your grading or whatever and be successful. There's a comment here. Yes, sir, I used to use it in Form 3, but I completely stopped and use a hard copy Spanish dictionary, no online one. And that's exactly what you need to do, to be honest with you. Sometimes it takes realizing. I would always be tempted with the online. Let me use a physical dictionary. Right? So we have some examples here of universal idioms and language structures. No, I never did karate. My father used to do it as an adult, and I used to go classes with him as a little boy. I had a nephew that used to do it as well as a drop. So you see and you understand what it takes. Right? So in some of the universal idioms and language structures that we may use for our letters. And I say universal because they can be used no matter the topic. In spite of what topic you have to write on, these could be used. You would always, or you should always inquire about the person to whom you are writing's well-being. Morning, Shonik, by the way. I saw you come in before, right? You must always inquire about their well-being, how you're going. You don't just start the letter and just start to talk about what is the topic of the letter. You must always inquire about the person's well-being. So this phrase, espero que todo esté bien con la familia. I hope everything is well with your family. You should always, in your introductory paragraph, state the reason for writing your letter. Te escribo para contarte sobre. Te escribo para contarte de. I'm writing to tell you about. These are things that always need to be included in your letter. And these phrases can always be included, no matter the topic that you are writing on. So there's a formula, guys. There's a formula to getting the most amount of marks possible, right? I will explain what that formula is when I go through all the phrases. Concluding your letter smoothly. That is one of the things that CXC requires, that you do not end your letter abruptly. You start to talk, you talk about all the things you need to think, and then it's just adios. No. So you need to end smoothly. Well, I'm looking to go there and I hope we see each other soon. Well, that's all I have to say for now, etc. Right? Don't just end it abruptly. You state this, you talk about this point, and then it's just adios, un abrazo, un beso. No. Ojalá que nos veamos pronto. I hope we see each other soon. Escríbeme pronto, write me soon. So there's ways to transition smoothly. Expressing having a great time. You need to write a letter about a sports day. You need to write a letter about a travel experience. You need to write a letter about a field trip. You need to write a letter about something that was a good experience. Lo pase bomba. That can be used for any good experience. I had a great time. I had a blast. Fue increíble. It was incredible. You want to express something bad. Fue malísimo. Fue horrible. You want to express shame. Me morí de pena. I died of shame. I could have dead from shame. That sounds like a Trini expression, right? I don't know. We have, let me just check in again. We have anybody from any island other than Trinidad and Tobago in the chat yet? Just raise your hand, unmute your mic, feel free. Anybody that is not from Trinidad and Tobago, I saw that we had some. KC Marin, KC, where are you joining us from? Aviel Bowen, where are you joining us from? What's that?
Trinidad, sir.
No, other than Trinidad and Tobago. Aviel is from Jamaica. Welcome, Aviel. Anybody else or no? We had a couple persons. I saw some persons. I saw, oh gosh, I forget the name. I saw some persons from Glenmuir High. I know that's in Jamaica. What school you go to in Jamaica, Aviel? I think that's not KC, but I don't think it was Kingston College. I think that's all boys, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah. But I know I saw some Jamaican schools there. I think it was Queen's College. Mount Alvernia High. Nice. Right? So back to the expressions, right? Expressing shame, memory de pena. Expressing that something happened quickly en un dos por tres. And this phrase is nice. That means like in a twinkling of an eye. Like you never even see when the number 2 went to 3. It just happened so quickly. Expressing that something happened quickly. Yo llegué al destino. Yo llegué a Cuba. Yo llegué a whatever country. I arrived at this country en un dos por tres. The storm ended quickly. La tormenta terminó en un dos por tres. The storm ended in a twinkling of an eye. Once you want to express something happening quickly in a twinkling of an eye, in un dos por tres, you want to express that somebody gave their all. Echar la casa por la ventana, which literally saying that you throw the house through the window, or like you bend backwards, this phrase could mean as well, right? These are universal phrases and idioms, language structures, etc. I was mentioning something before that, I can't remember the words I used. But one, you need to learn of these or phrases like these because as the name implies, they are universal. 2, and very importantly, CXC is not looking for and they do not require somebody or one of the students to be at the level of a native speaker. They don't require native level or native speaker level competency from you all. They know you're going to make mistakes. And I will say, but if you look at the rubric as well, you would see where it says may contain some errors. Under the rubric of 24 out of 30 to 30 out of 30 in the letter, you will see that as well, may contain some errors. So you could get a total mark and have minor errors. You miss out an accent here. There was 1 or 2 spelling errors there, etc. These things are possible. And what will lift up your mark for CXC to be able to pardon a minor error is the use of these sort of language structures. These are what we call language structures, grammatical structures, idioms, vocabulary that show or display mastery of the language. And it is by displaying mastery of the language that CXC puts your mark in the highest possible mark scheme, 24 to 30 out of 30 in your letter. So it's very important, I can't stress it enough, that you learn of phrases like these that could be plugged in your introduction, plugged in your conclusion, punctuate or lettered throughout your letter, etc. Once you could put in things like these, even though you might have had something wrong there, because whether it is you don't know it as well as you would like to, or whatever is the reason, you just in rush of the exam, you spell it incorrectly when you usually know it correct. If you could learn off and use things like these in your letters, it will give you the highest possible mark. Right? How are we going so far? Let me just check in again. It is now 8:55. We're trying to see if we could end off by 8:30. I know we said we're going for 2 hours, but I like to keep things short and sweet. Everybody following me so far, just give me a check-in. Just give me a thumbs up. Information is useful to us so far. Give me a C in the chat. C, senor. Excellent. I'll take that. Right? Nice. And as I said before, in addition to what you're seeing on the screen, you will be given even more resources than these, right? More phrases, etc., that you can use. Nice? So we spoke about directed situations. We spoke about the letter. We will move on next to the contextual dialogue. And you see a common thing in each one. Obey the instructions, follow the rubric, follow the rubric. That is so important. You need to follow the rubric no matter. And when they say the rubric, meaning instructions, meaning what it is you tell you need to do, you need to include, etc., right? So always pay attention to what the instructions are asking. What I would even suggest I do, you read up on these things, don't wait until the exam room to know exactly what are the instructions for the letter or the contextual dialogue, etc. You read up on these things before, it will be the same instructions year after year. So you know what it is they require of you beforehand. And as we see here on the left-hand side, the contextual dialogue now is 20 marks. So the directed situations were out of 30 marks, letter out of 30. Now we move into the dialogue, which is out of 20 marks. Follow the rubric that they give. Stick to the word count. The word count for the dialogue is 80 to 100 words. Once again, we have discretion here. Between 70 to 120 words. 10 less, 20 more that they are allowed. Once again, use universal idioms, structures that make it, most importantly, conversational. When you're writing your letter, the very nature of a letter is such that it's a one-way piece of communication that is on pause before the person writes back to you. Like a text message, like a WhatsApp message, like a DM, right? While these things are more instantaneous, there needs to be one person giving out the information first before it comes back. That's how the letter is. But with the contextual dialogue, you're given the impression of two persons in person, in real time, having a conversation with each other. That is the impression you try to get by what you write on the paper. So you have to make sure that the idioms and stuff that you use bring across a conversational tone. Once again, we need to pay attention to the key vocabulary. Once again, we need to never translate under any circumstances. And it will be difficult, I am telling you. You will feel helpless. Some persons may feel helpless in the process of trying to do these things for practice and not using translation help. But that is fine. That's part of the process, right? So never use any translation help under no circumstances. And once again, is the skill of writing that you're building. And just as I said, no matter the language, once we are learning how to write, it's an iterative process. You need to be repetitive. I do it here, I make a mistake, I correct the mistake and do over the whole thing. I do it here. I give the example of karate just now. If everybody is into music, you'll know that as well. You cannot go and perform in a concert or sing somewhere and not have rehearsed before over and over, right? If it is into public speaking, anybody will know that if it is into public speaking, you have to practice what you're going to say over and over and over again. They may have these spoken word competitions. I remember the winner of the First Citizens Bank spoken word competition, the last edition that passed. Darren Sand is the guy name. For the persons that are into poetry and stuff, you may know of him. And one of the things he was saying is that he has a rule. I don't know the correct name he called it, but before the competition, the week before or 10 days before, he must have said his piece 100 times. For 10 days before the competition, 10 times a day, he must have practiced his speech. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you go and you stand up in front of mic and you speak. In that instance, you may do it in non-stress ways. You may just, you're bathing and you're saying your speech. You walk into somewhere and you're saying your speech, etc. But the key is practice, practice, practice. That iteration over and over again. So when we see in persons doing things and it's like, wow, that is written beautifully, that is wonderfully said. It's not by practice, it's not by mistake. It's because of the constant practice and iteration that they achieve it. And it's the same thing that is required of you. Lots and lots of practice, right? I made a mistake. Did I? It seems like if I made a mistake here. I may have deleted a slide in error. There was a slide, there was supposed to be a slide. There's supposed to be a slide with some of the phrases to make it more contextual. And I think I deleted it in error in preparing. All right, let me show you where we'll get the information from though. Right? So Angeli would have sent to y'all a link to get the Angeli would have sent to y'all a link for the CSEC Spanish syllabus. CSEC Modern Languages syllabus, right? And I've shown you where I get the information from to show you some of the more conversational things. When you go on the CSEC syllabus, Modern Languages, I believe it should be the same thing. You're scrolling to page 17. So the content of the syllabus, they'll tell you the tenses you need to know for each language, French, Spanish, Portuguese. And then there's a list of key expressions, etc. So let's look here. Look at some of them. You'll see establishing and maintaining social relationships. And these could be used for the situation responses as well, direct situations. You'll get the language function on the left and the key expression in French, Spanish, Portuguese. For our sake right now, we're doing the Spanish. So you know if you're greeting somebody, the different ways. And these are showing you some of the conversational things you could use. Buenos días, buenas tardes, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo te va? Hola, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué hay de nuevo, etc. Excuse me. Bidding farewell, hasta luego, hasta la vista, vaya con Dios. Wishing them a good trip, buen viaje, etc. Introducing persons. So guys, I may have deleted it in error, but I've shown you where you could still go and get the information, right? Right here on the CSEC syllabus, it is here for you. Beginning and ending of letters, querido, whoever, un abrazo de tu amigo, con cariño, etc. The things you would use for holidays, the greetings you would use. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Año Nuevo, Prospero Año Nuevo, Felices Pascuas, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, have a prosperous New Year, Happy Easter, Feliz Cumpleaños, Feliz Dia de Madres, Dia de Padres, right? If it is a given a toast. So all of these, you will find expressions that make you think conversational. Expressing good wishes, buena suerte, que le vaya bien. Expressing regret or disappointment, que lástima, what a pity, right? Que pena could be used as well. I've seen it in Portuguese, which is interesting. But it's the same thing in Spanish with an accent on the E and the P-E-N-A for pena as well, right? Like, what a shame. And look, calling attention, mira, using the words, the connective words, not just starting off what you're going to say by simply saying whatever it is they ask you to say, but using those keywords, luego, entonces, etc. I can't believe I deleted that, you know. So those were some of the things I added, luego, entonces, which means then, pues, vale, dale, right? Vale is something that is very, very common, right? So like if they're going to start by saying something, vale is like, well, let me give all you another very, I learned this one when I traveled to Margarita once. Right? So you all know you will say, geez and ages, geez Louise, right? Like expressing surprise or that sort of stuff. Conchale, that's how we say that in Spanish, right? Conchale. Another very common and conversational thing that is said, phrase that is used, God willing, right? You do something, God willing. Tomorrow, please God, right? Si Dios quiere, right? Or you may also hear persons saying Dios mediante. These are very conversational phrases that we could use as well. Si Dios quiere. Pues nos vemos mañana, si Dios quiere. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Si Dios quiere, if God wants or if God wills. Right? Questions? I heard somebody, Mike. Aviel, you have a question? Okay. I see the little green square light up around your thing, so I thought you were saying something and you muted. Right, so practice with your dialogue. We're moving forward. Unless anybody has any questions, of course, feel free to put on your mic. The reason why I keep saying put on your mic is because sometimes I may miss things that come in the chat in real time, right? Finally, in the paper 2, we have the reading comprehension. Once again, we have the instruction. Follow your rubric. I always tell students this. Read the questions before you read the passage and pay attention to the title of the passage. Now, why would I make such a suggestion? I will tell only the truth. Somebody else might be afraid or ashamed to admit it, but I will tell you all the truth. Me, senior weeks as a teacher, it's possible, and it has happened to me before, that I read a CSEC Spanish reading comprehension exam paper, and there may be a word or two that I am seeing for the first time. I've never met the word before. Sometimes they may have some words and they give you the little asterisk at the end to tell you the meaning of the word because it might be a special word, etc. If it's special to a specific country alone, that sort of stuff. But sometimes it's words not like that. And even me as a teacher, I always tell people I study in Spanish 21 years now. Because I'm counting from Form 1 come up. Or little trying to work out my age. Right? But I say I study in Spanish for the past 21 years. And I'm still meeting words in the CSEC Spanish reading comprehension that I never met before. So you need to get over the fact and the fear that you do not know and that you will not know every single word in the reading comprehension passage. That is a fact. And that's a fear for some persons. You need to get over that. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to learn or know as least words as possible in the language, and you should feel confident. By all means, no. What I'm saying is that even if you are the best student, you will know every single word. You need to build your vocabulary for the reading comprehension, but you wouldn't know every single word. So by reading the exam questions before you read the passage, by paying attention to the title, which is in English, you already streamline the information that you need to know that is pertinent to you sitting this aspect of the exam, and you get some insight into what the passage is going to be about. The title gives you that insight, and also the questions give you that insight into what the passage is going to be about. And then by reading the questions, you know, I don't need to know every single word. I don't need to know every single piece of information that is given in the reading comprehension passage. Just these things I need to know. So you need to pay attention to those things. Read the questions before you read the passage and pay attention to the title and then go about reading your passage, right? Pay attention to the mark scheme. Many students have the wrong idea that if it is the exam, the question says 4 marks, that means I write 4 lines, or this is an indication that I need to write plenty things. I need to fill up all the lines they give me because it says 4 marks. And nothing could be further from the truth, right? The mark scheme is an indication of how many pieces of information is required in your answer. And let me explain what I mean by pieces of information. María era una chica inteligente, joven y humilde. Maria was an intelligent, was it? Inteligente, what's the second description? Inteligente, joven, and humble, humilde. Maria was a humble, intelligent, and something else young person. She was a girl that was a humble, intelligent, young. And the question says, how is Maria described in the passage for 3 marks? You might say, oh, shucks, I need to kind of write plenty. But no, what CXC is looking for is 3 pieces of information. In this instance, it's 3 words: humble, young, intelligent. And that is what giving you 3 marks. Even if it is you run out of time and you're just writing those 3 words, how does it describe her? Humble, intelligent, young, you will receive marks. So it's not so much, the mark scheme is not so much how much lines or how much you had to write, etc., but how much pieces of information. That piece of information, 1 piece of information can be a phrase. And by the time you write 3 phrases or 4 phrases, you have 2, 3 lines. But you need to figure out what is the piece of information they are asking for here, right? As I say, you will not know every single word in the passage, but you need to pay attention to context cues. The passage starts off and they're talking about, you see a word, something saying tráfico, you say, aha, it has to deal with something with traffic. They use the verb choque, chocar. Dos carros chocaron. But you saw the word tráfico before, but you never met the word chocar. So in tráfico, we have something called a cognate, which is a word that is similar in meaning in the 2 languages. For example, especial means special. So you see tráfico, so you say, aha, it has something to do with traffic and in the streets, etc. So you may not know the word chocar, which means to bounce, like in 2 cars bouncing, but you can infer that meaning from the passage after you see a word that came before tráfico, etc. Sometimes you may say before, sometimes you may need to read the whole passage in its entirety to get that overall context. But you need to pay attention to context cues. You need to pay attention to cognates, those words or phrases that are similar in 2 languages: especial, special, importante, important, etc. But you also need to be careful of false cognates. It might look like one, like an English word, but it's something totally different. Largo, long. Largo looking like large, but it doesn't mean large. It means long. And it's a very key description. If they ask you how to describe something or how something described, you see largo and you put large, you'll get 0 marks for that. Largo means long. So you need to look out for these type of words as well, right? Right. And now, ladies and gents, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some past paper exams. Anybody has any questions or anything before we continue? Before we move forward? Welcome, Anjali Bizram. Where are you joining us from, Anjali?
Good morning, sir.
Hi, morning. Where are you joining? Well, I hear a Trini accent, so I'm guessing it's from Trinidad and Tobago. What school are you joining us from?
Swaha Hindu College.
That's in Grandi.
Yes, sir.
Nice. So we have a persons from all over, man. Right. So, guys, we finished with the general thing. We're moving now into the specific sample exam questions and responses. Nice. So we want to look at directed situations first. Where did it go? Okay. Nice. So we won't be able to go through all of them, but as I say, the thing will be there for you. The results will be there. So this is, I believe, this is a May, June 2011 paper. Spanish, the situations, and we see the instructions, write in Spanish, the information required. Look at the bold words, the capitalized words. Write in Spanish is information for each of the situations. Do not write more than one sentence for each. For some, a complete sentence may not be necessary, and do not translate, do not use abbreviations, right? So let's look at a couple of them. Your teachers ask the students in your class to write one sentence indicating why they have chosen to study Spanish. Write your sentence. So remember what I've spoken about language functions. What function is the language playing here, fulfilling here, right? Teacher has asked the students in your class to write one sentence indicating why they have chosen to study Spanish. So here the language function will be something like given a reason. So we're looking for keywords like por qué. Estudio español, I'm going to say Spanish, yes? Estudio español porque quiero ser piloto. Porque quiero estudiar al extranjero. Porque quiero viajar por el mundo. So a way of giving a reason for something is porque, right? That is a key phrase. And we see here, look at the sample response from, this is a sample of our excellent exam paper, right? So you notice it's not even a complete sentence, as they say, as may not be required. So the teacher asks reason for studying Spanish, para entender cuando me hablan en español, in order to understand when persons or when they speak to me, cuando me hablen, sorry, the subjunctive, para entender cuando me hablen en español, to understand when they speak to me in Spanish, right? Let's look at number 4. Your sister wants to go to the beach on the weekend, but you don't. Send an email suggesting an alternative. Anybody want to take a shot at what you think the language structure might be in this instance? Language function, sorry. Number 4, your sister wants to go to the beach on the weekend, but you don't. Send an email suggesting an alternative. I'm seeing a chat. So Anushka said, oh, sorry. I don't know if you meant for person not to know you. I don't realize it was a 1v1 message. Anushka says suggesting. Excellent, Anushka. Suggesting or giving a suggestion. And you see the keyword here, right? So, prefiero visitar el cine. Sugiero que visitemos el cine. What did this person say? Mejor. Ay, ay, ay. Writing real tiny. Mejor vamos al parque. Better that we go to the park, right? I'm gonna make the thing a little bigger. All right, we're skipping some again. Write number 8. Write a note of apology to your mother, given a reason for your misbehavior. What is the language function being performed here? Anybody? You could.
Apology, sir.
Giving an apology, excellent, or apologizing. And what did we learn? What is one of the key things you could use to apologize?
Lo siento.
Lo siento or siento por, right? Lo siento, yo no sabía qué día era hoy, right? You forget how the accent there, you see CXC or the CXC examiner rather, underline it. Lo siento, yo no sabía qué día era hoy. I'm sorry, I didn't know what day it was, right? A lot of people like to go into long explanation and that sort of stuff. Look at what the question is asking for, right? The reason for your misbehavior. They just go into long drawn out things. Be careful of including things that they did not ask you for, right? Let me see a different one with a different language structure, language function. You are unable to attend a school outing next weekend and you are very disappointed. Write an email to your teacher making a special request. What are we doing here? What's the language function that is taking place?
Requesting something.
requesting something. Natalia Spencer, where are you joining us from, Natalia? I'm hearing an accent there.
Jamaica,
Jamaica in the building, guys. And what school you attend in Jamaica?
Magati High School.
What's that?
Magati High School.
Magati High School. Okay. So welcome. As
Thank
like the
you.
little, as like the little Caribbean connection. Bienvenida. Lo siento, yo debería decirlo en español. Como es una clase de español, ¿no? So where was I? Which number was that? Remind me what you said again, Natalia.
I said requesting.
Right, making a special request, right? That was number 6. Yes. What did this person say? Number 6. Salude a mis amigos de mi parte. Where the scan is a bit difficult to see somebody with, right? Accent was missing there as well. I greeted my friends on my behalf. Okay, so the person is asking the teacher just to hail the friends for them, right? Get the friends a shout out. So look at this, guys. So we have the different language structures. Sorry, we have the different situations, etc. 30 marks as we see, 10 situations. In other words, 3 marks per situation. And something I forgot to mention, I shouldn't say more important, but before they even check the grammar of what you're doing, your response needs to be appropriate to what the situation is asking. So you can give perfect Spanish and say something that is not even what they're talking about. They ask you, for example, to give 2 suggestions of activities that your Spanish club could do. And you write something that's saying it was an incredible day at the beach. That is not appropriate to the situation. You get 0 marks. Even though you may have used an idiom and perfect Spanish, etc. So your response must be appropriate first, and then they check for the grammar. And as you would see in this thing, this is basically a sample responses from a student. And you will see the situation, the excellent example of an excellent answer, notes from CXC. So when we send this to you, or when we upload this as well on the Padlet, you would notice that CXC is giving feedback on what they're looking for. The candidate demonstrated a command of essential elements of grammar. Response didn't have any errors. Subjunctive mood was used after cuando to imply a future time, right? And they give their different suggestions and recommendations. All these things are on the World Wide Web. Now, this was pretty good, so there weren't much measures for improvement. But you will see the other examples where sometimes there were other or more methods for improvement, right? Let's see now the letter writing. I'm looking at my time. Letter writing, you will have to take care of your younger siblings while your parents went out for the day. Write a letter to your friend in Chile relating your experience, being sure to include when and why you were left in charge, responsibilities you undertook for the day, how siblings behaved, how your parents will reward you for your good work, etc. Right? So these are the points. Now, I generally have a rubric that I give persons. I'm supposed to have a copy of that line around. I'll try and get it to be included as well. And it guides persons on how a rubric that I think will be excellent for you to meet the word count every single time. And it's simple. You have your date, you have your greeting. First paragraph is an introductory paragraph. On average, you're aiming for 25 words. And in that introductory paragraph, you're doing 2 things. Inquiring about the person's well-being and stating the reason for writing your letter. That should be approximately 25 words by doing those 2 things. That might be about 3 sentences. Paragraphs 2 and 3, which is the body of your letter basically. Paragraphs 2 and 3 should be where including the points 1 to 4. So 2 points in each paragraph. In paragraph 2, include the responses to points 1 and 2. In paragraph 3, include the responses to points 3 and 4. And then your fourth paragraph is your conclusion paragraph, where it is, that is where you see, ojalá que nos veamos pronto. I hope to see you soon. Escríbeme pronto. Saluda a tu familia por mi parte. Greet your family or say hi to your family for me, etc., that kind of thing. Yeah? 1 second. Angeli, I'm going to send you a message now. A private message. 1 second, guys. So, Angela, I just sent you a message. Let me know if you got it now, please. Nice. So we continuing. So this is the letter, and this letter is interesting to me. I've used this as an example many times in my classes because it's actually an example of an excellent letter. But we will see that there are some immediately visible.
Excuse me, sir, I did not get a message.
Pardon me?
I did not get no message.
You didn't get any message? Oh, shucks, no, there's another Angeli in the chat, sorry. She, not you, the next Angeli. Sorry. I don't realize the name. Right? So what I was saying is that why I like this example is because I think it helps to ease students' nerves and fears. Because it's an example of a sample letter, but it's a strikingly visible error as you look at the letter. Can anybody tell what that error is by just looking at it? First glance. Anybody take a guess? What is the error in this letter here? No, Belize is, how you say Belize in Spanish? That is the address. The format. Gabi says the format. Gabi, you mind putting on your mic for us for a second? Savannah Ray says
Yes,
no
sir.
introduction. Tell me, it's Gabi.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what aspect of the format?
This is not letter writing format. It's supposed to be
Okay.
paragraph, supposed to be indented.
Paragraph should be indented. Savannah Ray, am I saying her name correctly? Savannah Ray said there's no introduction, which is correct. The whole letter is one big paragraph. Well, two. One huge paragraph and then a conclusion. So the person just write. They use one paragraph for everything, right? And I'm telling you from now, one of the key things I like to say to my students, you see that formatting, it is so critical. Eh? Formatting will come in clutch when it is you're trying to not lose marks at all. Because when it is you're right at a certain standard, CXC forced to look for errors in certain places that could be minor. Let me give you an example of some of the places I've seen CXC penalize students for. The date. I want you all to take a look at this format and forget all you may have heard before. Excuse, by the way, sorry. Forget all you may have heard before about the format for the date and look at this format, pay attention to it, and memorize it. The address, comma, the date. The day, 19 de mayo del 2011. So you, if it is in Jamaica, Portmore, comma, 19 de marzo del 2022. If it is from Barbados, Christchurch, comma, and the date. Look at how the date is written. The numeral or the number, day, the month, day or dale, followed by the year. Nothing else is acceptable. I would tell you all, there's a point in time I never used to tell students about writing the address. And when I say the address, I'm not speaking about writing out your whole address, number, lot number, this road, this, no. Just the name of the city or the country, Jamaica, comma, whatever. Arima, Sangre Grande, Presal, etc., comma, followed by the thing. There's a point in time I didn't used to tell students about the address and writing it like this. Until I read a subject report and you realize, oh shucks, they actually penalizing people for not writing the date in this specific format. You know, some students just do as well. They write out the number for 19. They write out the number for this, hoping and thinking that it would add to the word count, not realizing that they are being penalized for not writing the numeral. They try and write out dos, mil, DOS, space, MIL, space, once, thinking, aha, I'll get extra marks for words. I'll beef up my word count. Nothing could be further from the truth. You are marked down for writing your date incorrectly. Remember what you're greeting. Querido, if it's a male, you're addressing. Querido Juan, querido Pablo. Querido Marcos. Querido Luis, etc. If it's a girl, querida Ana, querida Maria, querida Isabela, etc. Right? Your introductory paragraph should have some of the phrases I showed you before. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Espero que todo esté bien con la familia. I hope everything is right with the school, with the family. Te escribo para contarte sobre. I'm writing to tell you about. Right? We have your body paragraph 1, or which is your paragraph 2. You include 2 points. Your body paragraph 2, which is paragraph 3. You include the other 2 points. And then your conclusion, where you do not bring everything to abrupt end. You would be marked down Aviel, as I said. Take this like the God. I can't even say gospel. Some people don't really pay attention to that. JK, joke, right? So take it as dogma. Do it like if you had no choice in the matter, right? So exactly how you're seeing it in one line, exactly how it should be written, right? And this was actually quite excellent. When you look at the language being used in this, no, querido, and then the person's name, and then comma. Querido, the person's name. I've seen both. I don't understand why you're asking. I've seen a comma, I've seen a colon before. What I would say, what I would say to you now is use the comma. And the only reason I'm saying that is because this person used the comma, and it wasn't one of the methods for improvement or recommendations given by CXC to improve, right? But they use a lot of complex structures, right? Tengo que, to express obligation. Tener que, followed by the verb in the infinitive. Tuve que cuidar a mis hermanos pequeños. This should be menores. Mis padres salieron a celebrar su aniversario y la niñera no pudo venir. Por eso, should have a space, me dejaron a mí, accent, encargada de cuidarlos. They left me in charge of taking care of them. Tuve que comprar comida con la vecina y también lavé los platos, accents missing. I had to buy food with the neighbor and also wash the dishes. Fuimos al parque a divertirnos y al regresar vimos la televisión. We went to the park to have fun, and when we returned, we watched television. También ordenamos pizza y comimos. We also ordered pizza and ate. La pizza estaba muy sabrosa. So you see, putting in little things like this, the pizza was delicious, etc., etc., right? Me dijeron que quisieran que mis padres salieran más. They said to me that they wish that my parents went out more. This is the person referring to the younger siblings. Use of the imperfect or past subjunctive, right? So very complex language structures were used, and this is why the students, even in the face of having that error, still had an excellent response. Another very key thing I forgot to mention. Ridiculously important. Throughout your 4 to 5 years of learning Spanish, you would have been learning different tenses, how to conjugate, how to form the tense, etc. CXC doesn't have a sentence where they're going to say to you, put this in the subjunctive, put this in the past tense in Spanish. What you need to do is know, when do I use this? So you need to look at the exam question, and by looking at the exam question, you will determine. They didn't give the mark how much marks the person's made. I'll show you the mark scheme just now, right? But we need to look at the letter and determine what tense do I use here? What's the predominant tense? And we have hints. You were left in charge, past tense. Your parents went out, past tense. Write a letter to your friend in Chile relating your experience. You're relating the experience after the past. It's a one-time event that occurred and completed. That is the hint. I need to use the preterite tense here. If you were relating a past childhood experience, you were relating something that happened in the past or used to happen in the past all the time. You're talking about your childhood days. That's a cue for the imperfect tense. They may even put something in the letter to show you that it may be a mix of tenses. So look at the instructions, when and why you were left in charge, past tense, left. So that means you're using the preterite. The responsibilities you undertook, past tense of undertake, undertook, right? For the day, preterite tense being used. How your siblings behaved, past tense again. But look at this, how your parents will reward you for your good work. Once we see will do something, we know that's future tense. That is the cue for future tense. Somebody was about to say something, Natalia?
No, sir, never mind.
Okay, no problem. Right? And we have the recommendations as well for this. As I promised, let me just show you real quick the mark scheme for the letter. And you have very key vocabulary here to need to, right? So take a look at it in the syllabus. So this is actually the Portuguese sample past papers. I think Portuguese has been recently brought on board, so that is why. There are examples for Spanish and stuff in the past. But all of them use the same rubric. So the directed situations, right? And you have an example here from the Portuguese past papers. The function was narrating. So they're looking out, you see? Question A, what was the function? What is an example of a full response? What's an example of a partial response? Only one activity mentioned. 2 activities were mentioned. I guess this specific situation asks them to list 2 activities of something. But you see where the language functions, narrating, thanking and explaining. And sometimes it may be more than one function. Because thanking is one function and explaining is another one. What did I do? Right. Describing, invitation and giving a reason, etc. Right? Look at the mark scheme for the letter. Out of 30 marks. The mark scheme follows what we call a band. So they will place your letter in a general band first and foremost. I think it was excellent. It wasn't excellent, but it was good. It was satisfactory. It was moderate, limited, poor. There was no response, right? And based on that, you will get a mark. So the first thing they will say, I think this letter was excellent. And next, your examiner would look at, square up your letter against what CXC deems as an excellent letter. Excellent. Ideas are well organized and logically developed with all points clearly expressed. Pause. Why am I stressing the format? When it is you follow the format I am suggesting to you all. Date, greeting, introductory paragraph which has inquiring about the person's well-being and stating the reason for writing in the introduction. Body paragraph, well, paragraph 2, which is body paragraph 1, 2 points. The next paragraph, 2 points. Fourth paragraph, conclusion, then your farewell. When it is you are able to order your points and order the information in a letter like that, automatically, before even checking the grammar, the spelling, the accents, automatically you put yourself in the excellent band because your ideas will have been organized appropriately, logically developed, sequentially, and with points expressed. Now, how clearly, how fluently, etc. is another thing. But automatically you start off in this band by following the suggestion that I give you of how you order your points, etc. Right? Candidates write fluently using correct grammar, a wide range of idioms, vocabulary and structures, shows coherence and clarity of expression, as I was saying to you all, with an occasional inaccuracy. So an excellent letter, a letter that scores 24 out of 30, straight up to 30 out of 30, anywhere between that, can in fact have an occasional inaccuracy. CXC is not requesting or demanding that you have native speaker level fluency or proficiency. That's not what they require from you, right? So this is why I stress to students, allow yourself to go through the process of making a mistake, writing a letter over and over and over, fighting up. Could only write some lines. You move to a paragraph, you move to a whole letter. You have to go through the process, right? And as I said, the reason why I give you all these idioms that are universal, these vocabulary and structures that are universal, is because contained in these idioms, as we would have seen here, contained in these idioms are complex language structures that automatically put you in the excellent band. Espero que followed by the subjunctive. You get points for use of the subjunctive, something that you can learn off and be used universally. You get points for using your direct object properly. Te escribo, before the conjugated verb. Contarte, attached to at the end of the verb in the infinitive. The use of ojalá followed by the subjunctive. The use of idiomatic expressions and exclamations. Lo pasé bomba, fue increíble. The use of diminutives, malísimo. The use of the reflexive verb and an idiomatic expression, me morí de pena, I died of shame. Other refranes, they call it, or expressions. En un dos por tres, echar la casa por la ventana. So once we could use these things automatically without even having that level of mastery of the language as is displayed in the expression, without even doing that, we are placing ourselves in the band of showing grammar, idioms, etc. that put us in the excellent band. So this is the reason why I'm saying to you all, learn off some things that can be universally used. And I gave you some examples of some that could be universally used no matter the circumstance, right? And I wouldn't take too much time to go through the others. Ideas are well organized, developed, etc., right? Because of course, we know we're aiming for these. But you always send the syllabus, you could take your time and look through that, right? So that was the letter. Feel free to interrupt me if need be. Contextual dialogue. Page is loading. And we have an example of a contextual dialogue here. Once again, as you saw, between 80 to 100 words. You have been in trouble quite a lot recently in school and you realize you must change your approach to your studies to ensure a bright future. Your best friend Pablo shares some ideas with you on how you should improve. Responses to all the cues must be included. Greetings and expressions of feelings, explanation of feelings at the moment, description of the nature of the problem, details of your plan for improvement, expressions of appreciation to your friend. And we have the thing here. Yeah, say it repeated again here. Hola, ¿qué tal? So once again, remember I'm showing you the hola and the ¿qué tal as some of the things you could use to make your thing come across as conversational. ¿Por qué? ¿Qué te pasa? We saw that again being used as some of the phrases, the idioms, the functions that we could use to make your contextual dialogue sound like it's actually a conversation, like a phone or in-person conversation, right? And we have some more, etc. Something I didn't mention before and I need to mention now. Before you write a single word in your contextual dialogue, what I always suggest to persons is read the cued responses. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Por qué? ¿Qué te pasa? Continúan, etc. Read out all of these first before you even write a single word for of your response. Right? That is number one. Follow the rubric. By reading the responses first and by following the rubric of including a greeting and expression, it will help you to do two things. So you have the appropriate things being said and to meet the word count. What we notice is that we all know a conversation is a back and forth, a back and forth, a back and forth. Yeah? So if it is you pay attention to what is said, they say, hola, ¿qué tal? We have a space here. Before the space, we have hola, ¿qué tal? After the space, we have a question, ¿por qué? ¿Qué te pasa? That is a hint to us of this, greetings and expressions of feelings. So the appropriate response to hola, ¿qué tal is what? Anybody want to try? What is the appropriate response to hola, ¿qué tal? Anybody?
Like you're the express a greeting, sir, like I'm fine.
I'm fine. Hola, estoy bien. Hola, estoy mal. In this case, you're not fine. Estoy malísimo, más o menos. Estoy bien, right? Not soy. We use, once you're inquiring about somebody's well-being, we use the verb estar. So it'll be estoy bien, right? So in this case, estoy un poco triste. Y a la vez, complex structure, a la vez means at the same time. Enojada is a girl as we see with the enojada, right? So in this line, we have the greeting and expression of feeling, given a reason why they're feeling that way. They're sad, well, not reason as yet, but they're sad and at the same time angry. ¿Por qué? ¿Qué te pasa? Indicates that we're going to get an explanation of why they were feeling, how they're feeling. And look at the next line. Continúan tus problemas con el profesor de matemáticas, ¿verdad? Cuéntame. So if we look at the line before and the line after, we know that we need to include an explanation. That will be the response to por qué, and we need to include something that hints that there's a problem with the maths teacher. So the point I'm making is this. By reading all the cues beforehand, by reading all that the person said beforehand, before we write anything, by looking at the cues that we have, it gives us an indication of what to write and how much to write. So, ¿qué tal? And then por qué and ¿qué te pasa? So what comes, what precedes tells us what we should start off saying in our response, and what comes after tells us or hints to us what we should end off saying in our response. So we should start off by giving a response to ¿qué tal? And it should end off by saying something that prompts the person I have any dialogue with to ask about why that happened, why you're feeling this way, etc. And we will see that pattern repeating throughout. Right? ¿Y qué te dijo el director ayer cuando fuiste a su despacho? What did the principal tell you yesterday when you went to his office? So you know you're going to start off your response by giving an answer as to what the principal said. ¿Y cómo puedo ayudarte? And you're going to end off by stating some problem or something that will prompt your friend to give or suggest or volunteer help. El director me dijo que me fuera para la casa para pensar en lo que había hecho. The principal told me to go home to think about what I have done. Right? And that was what would have quizzed the person. And once again, we have you see, my bad, it's not 120, 110 words. So the response conforms to the acceptable length. For marking purposes, the acceptable length is 70 to 110 words. You all seen that? for marking the acceptable length. Same thing would have been seen with the letter 120 to 170 words, right? So they're looking at the length, the cues, attachment to the insert. And we have these to read over again. We're running out of time. And then you read in comprehension, Maria's wig. We should have read the questions before. You see here. Describe Maria's personality for 2 marks. For 3 marks, mention 3 things that Marissa and her companion did on the beach. Right? So the mark scheme, as I said, is an indication of how many pieces of information. What did this person write? Nice, cheerful woman for 2 marks. So you see in this case description, 3 things that she had on the beach. That is number 5. Sat on the sand, talked or chatted, and drank juice. And look, number 5 clearly demonstrated knowledge of the vocabulary that was expected to be recognized in order to respond correctly. The candidate noted the 3 points which answer the question. So there wasn't 3 one-word things in this instance, but 3 phrases, right? Candidate selected 2 appropriate adjectives from the passage to describe personality. Sufficient information was provided and therefore full marks were awarded, right? So we see what I was talking about. There's one thing I want to end off by telling you all about the, before I say that, you notice once again, it is given in English. So that gives us a context of what it will be. The title is given in English and that helps us. What happened here, we may not know the word for wig. But the story was about this girl. She went on a date and she had on a wig on her head. She went in the beach in the water. When she come back out, the water stayed in, the wig stayed in the water floating, but she came out of the water, right? So that tells us, right? Su cabello está flotando. Her hair is floating. What I wanted to point out to you, you will get 10 questions approximately. I think it's 10 every time. I don't want to speak in absolutes. 10 questions that relate to the passage that you need to answer based on the passage. However, 1 out of those questions, the answer or the information to respond to that question will not be found in the passage. I repeat, in the reading comprehension aspect of your exam, you will have 10 questions to answer. Of the 10 questions, there will be 1 that will not require you to look in the passage to find the answer. And that is always the last question. And it is what we call an appreciative type question. Right? So you, after going through, getting the information from the passage, to put it into English, to answer in your responses, and then you will ask a question to see how much did this person appreciate what it is they read? How much did they understand and how can they appreciate that? So for example, the last question asks explain why she reacted that way. What does it end off by saying? Poor Maria was ashamed. She left running from the beach. What a shame. She had forgotten to take off her wig. And this man that she was trying to impress, Enterado, had now known about her secret. The companion or the guy, on seeing her shame, said to her, "Don't worry, I have a dryer in the car." A hair dryer, that is, right? So why did she react that way? What response did this person give? Well, I guess in this instance, let me correct myself. Some of the stuff is inferred and some of the words are used from the passage. So she had reacted that way because she had forgotten to take off the wig. Something Akasi's can't too good. She was trying to impress. And now her secret was out. The candidate made some correct inferences and was rewarded marks accordingly. So look at this. With measures for improvement, with regard to question 10, the response could have been improved with more specific information as obtained from the passage. For example, instead of she had forgotten to take it off, the candidate could have made a specific reference to the wig. So here's our model answer. Her companion, whom she was trying to impress, found out that she was wearing a wig. So they were looking for the explicit mention of the wig. But you notice how CXC marked the question is an appreciative type question to show you understand what was taking place. She was trying to impress him, sorry, and the guy found out about her wig. You must see the explicit words used. Right? Found out about his secret. They use the word secret here, and the response we're looking for you to show your appreciation and understanding by use of the word wig. Found out about a wig. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of the Caribbean, that brings us to the end of our week 1, session 1 for masterclass. And I will now field questions, of which I already have one. So, do they repeat comprehension questions? I have seen comprehension passages repeated, but not as common in other areas, such as the paper 1. So, guys, questions. So, your class was excellent. Thank you, Vinayak. And which section to start off with first? Which section to start off with first is always a ticklish question to answer. I personally would always suggest, or if I were in your position, I will do the questions that require the most amount of time and marks first, which is the reading comprehension, which is the situations and the letter. And they are actually ordered in that way. Situations, letter, right? Always look over your stuff. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So can you please send the link to the, of course, Akelia, I don't know if it is yet entered late, but everything that you see in here plus more, everything that you saw today plus more will be uploaded, will be sent to you all. We are creating what you call a Padlet. I don't know if anybody has ever used Padlet in school, but you'll be sent a link to join something, and the class recording, the PowerPoint, additional notes, all of that stuff will be sent to you all for revision to use in your own personal time. Anything else? Anybody else? How many persons we have now? We are up to 36 persons, I believe. I know some persons would have lost connection and stuff in between. Anybody else has any other questions, comments, concerns? No problem, Afiel. Now, guys, as I mentioned to you all, I have one request. There's one request that I have in light of everything. One simple request. If it is you are already following Quintessential Language Learning, if it is you already following Quintessential Language Learning on Instagram, please share our information with other persons. Invite your friends to like it. I've just posted the link there again in the chat for you all. Click on that and you could follow us on Instagram. Post it in your WhatsApp status. Go check out Quintessential Language Learning for excellent resources. Of course, if you find it was excellent. If you find it was excellent and helpful, tell the world. If you find it was not good and there's some things I need to improve, tell me. Private message man, tell me, right? If it was excellent, tell the world. If it is, I need to do something better, there's something else that's needed, tell me. Somebody asks, sir, are you still in UE? No, I graduated from UE in 2013. Well, that's with my Spanish degree. And I also send the link for WhatsApp to you all. I know TikTok is a new thing. I will not be dancing. As not a dancer or a singer, but you can follow me on TikTok as well for wonderful learning resources, etc. A little more entertaining than some of the stuff. I try out to mix up the entertainment and education, but follow me on TikTok as well. You're just searching at Profe Weeks. You're searching at Profe Weeks on TikTok. Look for me. On YouTube, look for us on YouTube as well. We are on YouTube. Simple to find, Quintessential Language Learning. Let me just send the link as well for you for the channel. And as I mentioned, we will be adding some what's the word? Angeli, I need your help here. If you're here still, Angeli. Right now, I'm trying to do this and I'm saying, I'm sure Angeli will be doing this way faster than me. Okay, let me just boom, boom, copy and paste. So the link for the YouTube channel as well. Check us out on YouTube. We have some stuff there. I'll be posting soon all the information on the to help with orals that we have been posting on the other social media pages as well. So look out for that. And all I ask is that all I share on your WhatsApp status. When in the WhatsApp group that we have, I'll be posting the flyers and stuff. All I ask is that you repost, you subscribe, you follow, you share, etc. Let us make Quintessential Language Learning viral. That's all I am asking from you all. Right? Is that fair? Is that a fair trade, guys? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So share it up for Jamaica, everybody for South Trinidad, East Trinidad, North Central, everywhere, etc., right? And I need to mention again, for the persons that were not there at the start, this is not a Senior Weeks and Quintessential Language Learning thing alone. This is a collaborative event between NALIS, the National Libraries and Information System, that is the public libraries and stuff in Trinidad and Tobago, and Quintessential Language Learning, right? So it's a special thing that we're doing for the public. We're trying to give you all value, give you all an invaluable resource, no matter your socio-economic background, right? You're getting an invaluable resource that will get you prepared and make you confident going into your exams. All paper 1, 2, 3, etc. Nice. The third week of classes will be working on the oral aspect, by the way, right? You leave in the oral for last. If no one has any other questions, guys, we will bring our meeting to an end. I say thank you. We have 36 active participants today. I hope to see more next week. No, we have 2 more weeks, 2 more Saturdays, right? So make sure and spread the word with your friends, etc. Invite them. Let me copy and paste again the WhatsApp group chat link. There's the link there. If you're not in our WhatsApp group as well, join the group and you could send a link to your friends to join as well. Nice. All right, guys, ladies and gents, pues fue un placer y pues nos vemos la semana que viene y pues que comparta la información con tus amigos, con todo, ¿ok? Adiós, chao, es todo por ahora y nos vemos, nos hablamos. Take care, guys. Enjoy, be safe.